bad to the bone. I ain't your friend, I ain't got time. But I heard your mama say, cause I'm badass, motherfucking badass. I'm badass, badass. I'm bad.
All right, I'm Jay Stone, and welcome to a brand new episode of my show exclusively at rockmetaltalk.com. Well, actually not exclusive anymore. We're broadcast on about 8 stations, and I got a brand new station called the Granite Coast Network, so Granite Coast Entertainment, so I'll be aired on their station. But that was Badass by Black Robot, and I have quite a musician on the phone right now with me. He's been in BUCKCHERRY. He's recorded with Cat Stevens. He's been in Fuel, the Wallflowers, and he's played lead guitar and backup vocals for Chris Cornell. So I'd like to welcome Yogi to the show. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Jay?
Not much,
Glad
not
to be
much.
here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you taking the time to call in. I know you got a busy schedule. You got a live show coming up in just about an hour or so, so we'll get to some questions. We'll talk about what's going on, what you've been through with all of these bands, and we'll get into some of those other artists as well.
Sure.
So,
absolutely.
you were in BUCKCHERRY. In the beginning, were you a member, or you were added on to go on tour, or how did that work? I know JB through my cousin, who was also the tour manager. So I've had JB on the show, so it's cool that you're coming on. But how did that come into play for you with BUCKCHERRY?
Yeah, well, they initially were called Slamhound. Sparrow. Excuse me. Slamhound was like a previous band,
right?
That Doss was in. They were called Sparrow. And they had a demo circulating, and then they ended up getting a record deal with DreamWorks. And at that point, they had made a record. And when they became BUCKCHERRY, they collectively decided that they needed a lead guitar player or a fifth member. So basically, I came on board at the time that the band was basically publicly, when the band became, whatever, like the record came out, I was sort of promoted as a band member, but technically I was, there as a musician helping the tour and helping to promote the record, but I was in the videos and I was basically a band member,
right?
As far as the public is concerned. And then that went good, and the second record, they asked me to join up as a full band member, and I co-wrote the second album, and so basically, I was a band member from that point forward, and then a few years after that, the band disbanded, and was put back together, obviously, by
right.
YOGI. Eventually, but so that's how that whole thing started. And
do you consider BUCKCHERRY like the stepping stone to get to all these other artists, or were you already a studio musician prior to that and just happened to land this gig? Because that's actually essentially how I knew about you, was from the BUCKCHERRY days.
Sure. It definitely was a high-profile band. I mean, I was playing with an artist that sold platinum before BUCKCHERRY, so I wasn't, it wasn't really necessarily a stepping stone, So I mean, I'd kind of already been in the business, and I had my own record deal before that. So, but I just love different kinds of music, and it was a really cool opportunity to rock out, and we got to play all over the place and open for amazing acts like Kiss, Lenny Kravitz, AC/DC, Aerosmith. I mean, it was awesome. I definitely wouldn't have had that opportunity if it wasn't for BUCKCHERRY, and and then later in life, I got to open for other cool bands, like from other rock bands. But that was my first experience rocking with those bands because of BUCKCHERRY. So
right.
So yeah, it was a great thing, and also I was doing sort of pop music, that not like hard rock, which I've always had that hard rock gene in my blood, and love Zeppelin and different kind of heavier bands, Van Halen, AC/DC, all that kind of stuff. So it was a real treat to actually be able to join a band that did that kind of music. I'm pretty diverse. I mean, as far as guitar goes, I actually kind of prefer to play like R&B and kind of more funky stuff, actually, as a guitar player.
Right.
But BUCKCHERRY kind of put me on the map as a rock guitar player. So that's how I kind of got involved in all the other rock bands that I jammed with, like Filter, Fuel, Chris Cornell, those kind of things. But there's really nothing better than performing with a rock band. I mean, as far as like group, like the audience energy and the excitement of the crowd, nothing beats it on that level. I mean, you can never like get the same kind of vibe from like a pop or an R&B situation. The crowd's much more docile.
Right. I'm sure you get that, still get the high from it, but it's a different way of, it's a totally different type of show. So no, I completely understand that.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I would say BUCKCHERRY to date is probably the highest energy rock band I ever played with, in terms of everybody in the band being in sync and, jamming their brains out up there. Then it was just so high energy, which, I still feel fondly about it. It's quite
right.
Cool.
Yeah, me and my wife seen you guys when you toured with Lenny Kravitz. We went to the Madison Square Garden show. It was pretty cool. I definitely enjoyed it. So, but I know JB has mentioned some things about after the afterlife of BUCKCHERRY, the original lineup that you guys are involved in. I know you said you were involved in the writing on the second album, which was Time Bomb. He's mentioned and has been pretty open about royalties. Is that battle still going on? Are you involved with that? Because I don't think a lot of people actually know a lot of the inside stuff. I mean, if you don't want to talk about that, that's fine.
I actually don't think there's any problems with that. I mean, everything is, pretty on point with it. I know BUCKCHERRY, JB's obviously much more involved in it because he was an original band member, so he probably had different things at stake than me as a new member.
Right.
So, but yeah, I haven't had any issues really, with stuff. Everything's pretty amicable.
That's cool. Do you still are you still on friendly terms with those guys and talk to them, or?
I've seen. Well, actually, I actually have become friendly with Stevie D, who's the lead guitar player, and I think he's an awesome guy. I just did a gig with him in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and he's really cool. I dig him. And aside of him, I don't know the other guys, the drummer and the bass player.
Right.
And then as far as Josh and Keith goes, I've seen them and have been very friendly with them on tour. Like when I was out with Chris Cornell, and I ran into them at some European festivals, and it's all fine. For me, there's definitely there's no issues about it. It's all water under the bridge. It's so long ago.
Right, I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally wish them all the luck, and they've obviously been doing well, which is cool.
What do you think of their new music? Have you listened to any of it? I was actually a big fan of the first two albums, and then the album with the new members came out. I kind of stuck with them for a couple of albums after that, but then it just seemed to be more of a novelty stuff at this point. What do you think of their new stuff?
I actually am not familiar with anything besides Crazy Bitch, which I think is a great song, and obviously a major crowd pleaser. Everybody loves that song.
Right, yeah, it was definitely popular.
But I didn't really follow any of their records. I thought the first album, even if I was involved in writing the second album, but I thought the first album just had a special magic to it that we didn't really hit with the second album.
Right.
There was some sort of authenticity about the first album that really was special. And the second album, I think it's sort of a common thing with bands. It's like you have your whole life to write your first album, and then you have basically 6 months to write a second album.
Right.
So you kind of you're reaching for ideas and trying to market yourself in a certain way or be something.
I think a lot of bands.
Kind of idea.
I think a lot of bands overthink their second CD in a sense because they're trying to recreate something that they already did. So I think I don't know, but I think the second album was still a worthy record. I mean, the first one, like I said, my cousin Rob, he was actually the tour manager when you guys first started out, and
Rob Mark,
Monks, yeah. I think he used a different name, but yeah. I remember when he came to my house, he had all of these pictures. He had the demo CD, and I was blown away. I mean, my wife, and she was my girlfriend at the time, but we loved it. I mean, we fell in love with the first album, and they were all of the news and the music magazines were saying that you guys were going to be the next Guns N' Roses, and I think that probably actually could have happened if the original lineup would have stayed together. But I don't want to dwell on BUCKCHERRY with you because you've had a lot of things going on since then. Like,
right.
What's it like? You're the touring guitarist for Shakira. I know I talk about other things besides rock and metal.